The conventional advice to simply buy a semi-automatic pistol often ignores a critical operational failure. The moment a shooter under stress fails to rack the slide with enough force or short strokes it during a high-pressure draw, the weapon induces a jam. For many, that mechanical vulnerability is a deal-breaker. We are currently witnessing a significant market correction as shooters trade the high-capacity promise of modern semi-autos for the uncompromising reliability of the revolver. This is not a return to nostalgia. It is a calculated pivot toward mechanical simplicity and failure point reduction. Data from the National Shooting Sports Foundation confirms this trend, showing a 20% surge in revolver sales during 23, while Smith Wesson reported a 35% spike in their own revolver segment as recently as 22. The math is shifting because the platform has evolved. Modern engineering has successfully integrated lightweight alloys, 8-round capacities, and optic-ready configurations into a system that fundamentally lacks the feeding issues, stovepipes, or magazine dependency of its counterparts. When the complexity of a semi-automatic slide becomes a liability rather than an asset, the revolver emerges as the superior choice for those prioritizing immediate, reliable performance under the most demanding conditions. The sales data tells a story that conventional advice does not. According to a 2023 report from the National Shooting Sports Foundation, revolver sales climbed 20% over 2 years. Smith & Wesson posted a 35% surge in revolver revenue in 2022 alone. Those numbers land in a market supposedly owned by polymer-framed semi-automatics, and they demand a mechanical explanation, not a sentimental one. Start with failure points. A semi-automatic pistol depends on a magazine feeding correctly, a recoil spring cycling fully, a slide stripping around from the feed lips, and an extractor ejecting the spent case. Each step is a potential malfunction. Short stroke the slide during a stress reload, and you get a stovepipe. Limp wrist the frame and the action fails to cycle. A revolver eliminates that entire chain. There is no magazine. There is no slide to rack. You load the cylinder, press the trigger, and the next chamber rotates into alignment. The mechanical sequence is shorter, which means fewer places for it to break down. That is not nostalgia. That is engineering arithmetic. Caliber versatility compounds the advantage. A .357 Magnum revolver fires 38 special ammunition interchangeably, giving the owner a full-power defensive load and a lighter practice round from the same cylinder. No semi-automatic offers that kind of backward compatibility without swapping barrels or recoil assemblies. Modern production has also closed the gaps critics used to cite. Current revolvers ship with lightweight alloy and polymer frames that cut carry weight significantly. Capacity has stretched to 8 rounds in some medium-frame models. Fiber optic and night sights come standard on many lines, and several manufacturers now offer optic-ready revolver platforms. Hammerless designs built specifically for concealed carry eliminate snagging risk during a draw stroke. These are not incremental tweaks bolted onto a vintage design. They are ground-up engineering responses to the exact objections that pushed buyers towards semi-autos in the first place. The result is a platform that strips away complexity where complexity creates risk. No external safety to fumble, no malfunction clearance drill to memorize, no magazine to seat under pressure. For new shooters, recoil-sensitive users, and anyone who prioritizes function under stress over raw capacity, that trade-off is shifting. But the conventional revolver recommendation has its own breakpoint, and it starts with the cartridge most people default to. That capacity and recoil gap is exactly what the .327 Federal Magnum was engineered to close. Developed in 2008 by Federal and Ruger, this cartridge functions as a high-pressure solution to the traditional 5-shot limitation of small-frame revolvers. By utilizing a smaller diameter projectile, it allows for a 6-round cylinder in the exact same footprint that typically holds only 5 rounds of .38 Special or .357 Magnum. This is not just a marginal increase. It is a 20% gain in onboard capacity without increasing the width or weight of the carry platform. Performance-wise, the .327 Federal Magnum is a high-velocity powerhouse. It delivers muzzle energy and velocities that rival or exceed 38 special plus P plus loads. In ballistic testing, it consistently reaches 15 to 16 inches of penetration in synthetic gel while maintaining reliable expansion. This gives the user terminal performance comparable to larger, more punishing calibers, while remaining housed in a platform that is significantly easier to manage during rapid strings of fire. The trade-off, however, is a sharp muzzle blast and increased flash, which are unavoidable consequences of burning that much powder in a short-barreled revolver. The true value of this cartridge, however, lies in its multi-tiered backward compatibility. A revolver chambered for 327 Federal Magnum can safely fire 327 Federal, 32 H and R Magnum, 32 long, and 32 short ammunition. This creates a versatile training ecosystem that is unmatched by most defensive platforms. You can practice with the mild, low-recoil 32 short or long to build fundamental trigger control, then transition to the full-power 327 Federal for carry without needing to adjust your grip or master a different firearm. It effectively solves the revolver's historical problem of being a one-trick pony, providing a scalable power level that adapts to the shooter's needs, rather than forcing the shooter to adapt to the gun. A cartridge is only as useful as the platform built around it, and modern manufacturers have finally begun to optimize their frames to harness this specific ballistic potential. A cartridge is only as useful as the platform built around it, and the Ruger LCR series serves as the definitive answer to that requirement. By integrating a polymer frame into a traditionally steel-heavy architecture, Ruger successfully dismantled the primary argument against carrying a revolver: the weight penalty. This shift in material science allows for a chassis that is remarkably light for daily carry, yet it maintains the structural integrity required to handle the high-pressure demands of modern defensive rounds. The LCR's monocoque design distributes stress across the frame rather than relying on heavy side plates, proving that weight reduction does not have to come at the cost of long-term durability. Performance-wise, the LCR platform is optimized for the realities of self-defense. The hammerless configuration is a critical design choice, eliminating the external spur that frequently causes snagging during a high-stress draw from concealment. This focus on a snag-free profile ensures that the firearm remains accessible, whether it is carried in a pocket or a dedicated holster. Furthermore, the LCR is one of the few platforms that fully leverages the .327 Federal Magnum's potential. By chambering this specific round in a 6-shot cylinder, Ruger provides a capacity advantage over the standard 5-shot .38 special snub-nose without increasing the overall footprint of the firearm. This is a significant mechanical achievement that bridges the gap between the compact revolver and the capacity-focused semi-auto. The practical value of the LCR lies in its accessibility for the end user. It is not merely a collector's piece or a range toy. It is a purpose-built tool for those who prioritize immediate, reliable function over complex manual of arms requirements. Because the LCR is available in multiple calibers, ranging from the manageable .22 long rifle for training to the potent .327 Federal Magnum for defense, it allows shooters to select a platform that fits their specific recoil tolerance and threat environment. By combining modern polymer construction with a refined, snag-free geometry, the LCR series makes the carry revolver viable for a new generation of shooters who demand lightweight, snag-free reliability. The carry market is only one signal, however. Manufacturers are currently betting much bigger on the long-term viability of the wheel gun. Colt did not reintroduce the Python in 2020 because of nostalgia. A company allocates engineering resources, retooling costs, and production capacity to a platform only when internal market data justifies the investment. The Python's return is a corporate signal that revolver demand has crossed a threshold where legacy designs are worth modernizing, not just remembering. The new production Python ships in stainless steel with 3 barrel length options at 3 inches, 4¼ inches, and 6 inches. Internally, Colt redesigned the action to be more robust than the original, addressing a well-documented weakness. Vintage Pythons relied on an intricate lockwork that was notoriously difficult and expensive to service when it drifted out of spec. The modern version retains the smooth trigger pull that made the original famous, while building it on a stronger frame with enhanced durability. This is not a cosmetic refresh. Colt identified the specific failure points that made the original a maintenance liability and engineered them out. New production models run between $1,400 and $1,700, positioning the Python as a premium but attainable revolver rather than a safe queen. The collector market reinforces the investment thesis from a different angle. Original 1970s and 1980s Pythons now fetch anywhere from $2,000 to over $10,000, depending on condition and rarity. That price trajectory tells you something about how the market values mechanical quality and brand heritage over time. Few polymer-framed semi-automatics from any era appreciate like that. For buyers weighing long-term value retention alongside functional performance, the Python occupies a category that most modern handguns simply cannot enter. Practically, the Python is not a concealed carry gun. It is too heavy and too large for that role. Its value sits in home defense, range use, and as a benchmark for what a precision revolver can deliver in terms of trigger feel, accuracy, and build quality. The fact that Colt committed real capital to bringing it back, and that the market responded strongly enough to sustain multiple barrel configurations, validates the broader trend the sales data already established. Manufacturers are not humoring revolver buyers. They are competing for them. But you do not need a $1,500 revolver to benefit from this shift. The .38 Special earned its default status honestly. It became the dominant revolver cartridge in the mid-20th century, and it has served in more defensive encounters, law enforcement duty rotations, and nightstand guns than any other revolver round in American history. Ammo availability alone justifies its reputation. Walk into virtually any store that sells ammunition, and .38 Special will be on the shelf, typically running $25 to $45 per box of 50 for standard loads, with defensive plus P options from Hornady Critical Defense or Federal HST available between $30 and $60 for a 20-round box. No other revolver cartridge comes close to that level of accessibility, and for many shooters, that single factor ends the conversation before it starts. But the conventional recommendation has its own breakpoint, and it shows up the moment you chamber .38 Special in the lightweight snub-nose revolvers most people actually carry. In a steel-framed duty gun, recoil is manageable and predictable. In a 14 or 15-ounce Airweight frame, the same cartridge becomes snappy and punishing, especially with plus P defensive loads. That recoil penalty compounds across a practice session. Shooters who find the gun uncomfortable at the range tend to train less, and less training means slower follow-up shots and worse accuracy under stress, which is exactly the scenario where the revolver's simplicity was supposed to be an advantage. The gun works, but the cartridge-to-platform match creates a friction point that erodes the reliability benefit at the human performance level. Then, there is capacity. Small-frame .38 revolvers typically hold 5 rounds. That is the standard cylinder geometry, and it has not changed in decades because the cartridge diameter physically limits how many chambers fit in a compact cylinder. 5 rounds is not disqualifying, but it does mean every shot matters more, and the recoil issue makes accurate shot placement harder in the guns where capacity is already at its tightest. You end up with a compounding trade-off. Fewer rounds available, and more felt recoil degrading your ability to place them well. None of this makes the .38 Special a bad cartridge. It is proven, available, and effective. But the specific limitations in lightweight carry frames, recoil that discourages practice, and a cylinder that maxes out at 5 are precisely the engineering gaps that newer cartridge designs were built to close. But you don't need a $1,500 revolver to benefit from this shift. Nor does the modern revolver's relevance hinge solely on premium reintroductions. For many, the accessible entry point into reliable, simple self-defense is found in the Smith Wesson 6.42 Airweight. This compact 5-shot revolver embodies the core appeal of the modern carry wheel gun. Its Airweight designation refers to a lightweight aluminum alloy frame, making it exceptionally easy to carry concealed without significant bulk. The hammerless design is a critical feature, completely eliminating the risk of the hammer snagging on clothing or holsters during a draw, a common failure point in traditional revolvers. Operating with a double-action-only trigger, the 642 offers a consistent, albeit often heavy, pull that simplifies operation by removing the need to cock a hammer. New models typically retail between $450 and $550, placing it firmly in the budget-friendly category for a self-defense firearm. However, this lightweight construction, while beneficial for carry, does present a known issue. Recoil with standard .38 special ammunition, and especially with more potent .38 special plus P loads, can be significant and punishing. This can deter new shooters from consistent practice, impacting their proficiency. Additionally, like most small-frame .38 revolvers, it is limited to a 5-round capacity, which means shot placement and training are paramount. Despite these performance trade-offs, the 642 Airweight remains a top choice for concealed carry, particularly for those prioritizing simplicity and minimal snag points. Its ease of operation makes it an appealing option for new shooters or individuals seeking a straightforward defensive tool without complex manual safeties or slide manipulation. The 642 proves that modern revolver utility isn't about high-capacity magazines or advanced optics, but about delivering a reliable, purpose-built solution for personal defense. It prioritizes function over features, offering a no-frills, dependable firearm that is ready when needed, cementing its status as an enduring staple in the carry market. The 642 Airweight demonstrates that the revolver's enduring value lies in its fundamental reliability and user-friendliness, making it a relevant and accessible choice for a broad spectrum of gun owners. The initial operational breakpoint, where semi-automatic complexity falters under stress, is precisely where the modern revolver excels. This isn't a romanticized return to the past, but a pragmatic recognition that reducing failure points offers compounding returns when reliability is paramount. The market's clear shift, evidenced by surging sales, confirms that for many, the revolver's mechanical simplicity and immediate functionality outweigh the capacity trade-off. It stands as a robust, accessible choice for anyone prioritizing unwavering performance in critical situations. The engineering has evolved, proving simplicity remains a powerful advantage.